so to speak, because the inherent awakeness is already there, allowing it to be that way. Yeah? So it's just so easy to mix things up from, if you want to call it the relative point of view, to the comprehensive point of view. And so even when you're talking about the comprehensive point of view from the relative, it's already distorted. Yes? Yeah. This is what you know. That's what happens. You know that you don't know. That's the beauty of it, really. You just know that the incapability of this getting it. It's just, that's where the real relief comes. The real relief is, you go through, how they have those idea of phases where like there's grief and then anger, whatever it is, they try to, but here, something doesn't work. And so it's not working, but the system is based on you, the self, so then there's guilt and shame, and it's all put on you that it's not working, yeah? So that can get a few years of life, yeah? Which is you're blind to the fact that the system doesn't work. You can't, escape from an imaginary place. You're not at fault, yeah? So the teaching comes from, quote unquote, no success. You can't escape. And so after the blame and the blame and the blame, when it's finally realized you can't escape from imaginary place, all that stuff that built up pressure and brought this, it's a big pop. It's a very relieving, because you really see it has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. You haven't blown it. It's not because you looked away when the guru was looking at you. None of that. This is all the stuff, all that comes up based on a fallacy, really. Yeah? The fallacy to keep living has to have a narrative, to support it. Yeah? So it just gets fed. All this interest and attention. But when you see, I like a statement in recovery, which is being convinced. Yeah. So when you're convinced that you're not going to get it, they have that cryptic saying. That's the getting it. Really. The getting it is you're not going to get it. Yeah. It's like an anti-getting it. So your idea of getting it isn't gonna fly. It's not personal. It isn't that you didn't do enough, or you made a mistake, or you spent too much time practicing something, and I should have been doing that, something else. None of it matters, really. It's just basically you can't escape from an imaginary place. Yeah. Self can't get out of self. That's the thing we have in recovery. It's not written in the big book, but I would say it's an observation of a lot of people who got introduced to recovery and realized a lot of their behavior was framed in self can't get out of self, because they were still trying to get out of self, just like it isn't they, but there was a wanting to get out of self, just like there was a wanting to get out of self shooting dope. Yeah? Or wanting to get out of self-yoga, or wanting to get out of self-meditation, wanting to get out of self-sex, wanting to get out of self-travel, whatever it may be. There's that wanting to get out of self, but this is the disclaimer, as self. Yeah. And I humbly believe I've seen the aberration of the mental state, especially in drug addiction, and it doesn't learn. It will just keep trying to get out of self as self, ramming into that wall of impossibility, and after a while, it won't give up, it'll just change vehicles. Try to ram it this way, or maybe there's a tunnel, or a spirituality, I'll leap over it, or whatever, but you could boil it down. The whole driving force is what you're not, wanting really to get out of what it's not, but still be there to experience it. So it wants to experience its own absence. So the sense of its presence just fucking lingers. It doesn't, it just keeps, it's like a weather front that's just moved in, And it just doesn't seem to budge, you know. It doesn't. So, all right, what can a failed system show you? Beautiful statement out of the Course in Miracles. Well, that it's failed. That's the whole point, yeah? The success here is captured through failure. You recognize, I ain't gonna get it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna turn water into oil or oil into water. It's just not gonna happen. And then that stress, that pressure, you know, the pressure, you don't know usually. If you've been under it for a long time, you don't know it. It's like the idea we used to say about gravity. You can become a professor of gravity, write books about gravity, give huge talks about it, have formulations of what gravity is. But if you really want to know gravity, just go into an anti-gravity chamber. Yeah? Get relieved of the effects of gravity, and then you'll know the effects of gravity. Wow, there's like a pressure I wasn't aware of on me all day. That's why, you know, a white man can't jump. You know, I can't get off the ground by an inch. It ruined my basketball career. Couldn't lift, you know? Gravity. So suddenly, instead of thinking, oh, I just, you know, it's just gravity. So now, oh, it explains everything. Because if there isn't a clear clarity, you'll make up shit. Your head will make up a giant conspiracy. Why, for some reason, you're so special to be damned that you're never going to, yeah, it will. It just doesn't. So, a failed system shows you what it's failed, okay? So then there's a great statement in the Course. It says, firm in faith in what you're not, yeah, denying what you are, you now rely on that which you're not to tell you what's going on. Basically, that's what's happening. We've been listening to a narrative which is premised on being a thing, yeah? Yes or no? When you're remembered as a thing, and you're a very special thing, because what's alluding to you as the thing is the non-thingness of it, yeah? So the subjectivity of your life is attributed to the object, yeah? So this is duality. This is the premise of duality, is subject, which would be awareness, yeah, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. That onness, that doesn't have a thing or a length or a quantity, yeah? It's just on. It's not like it chose to be on, and it's just on. It's just nature, yeah? It's demonstrated 5 ways a day: seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Yeah, I mean, and it's obvious that we're more a conduit of that than the source of it. Yeah, obviously. Do you feel like, all right, I'm going to get ready to start seeing? All right, let's see. I'm not ready yet. All the while you're seeing, but I'm not ready yet. I took the class, seeing. Yeah? No. The seeing doesn't seem that you have any volition over it, do you? If your eyes are open and you're not sound asleep, you're going to be seeing something, whatever's there. Yeah? You can take a vow of never fucking seeing something. If that something is in the room that you see, you'll be seeing. Yeah? So the seeing, just listen to the head. It tells you everything. It just constantly implies that the seeing is the seer. That's all. It takes what's happening, which is the verbing, you know, seeing, hearing, feeling, everything with the ing on it, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, thinking, all that, and it claims that the verb implies a noun. That's all. It makes a leap. It wasn't even set up when you were a baby, for until about 2 years old. Yeah, you had no idea. All you were was the expression of verbing, you know. But then the brain developed, and the brain goes, verbing, aha, you know, noun. Yeah. So now life's not happening anymore, which it is still happening, but it's seen. It's seen. It's not seen. It's seen as it's happening to you. It's the basis of self-centeredness. So now, the brain's developed enough that it hides the impact of the verb by claiming that there's a noun. Yeah? So the noun gets presupposed to be before the verbing. So now, when you feel like you're conscious, that which is conscious is pictured as a body. You think a body is that which is conscious. So you've mixed up the subjectness and the objectness. And what non-duality is just a correction of that. Yeah? So non-duality is not two. That's the assumption of that all the other assumptions are based on, that you're the see or the feel. It's not true. It doesn't mean it's bad or good. It's just not true. Yeah? There's no two. There's no subject-object. And then, it just gets so freaking clear. Like a great Zen master, Huang Po, said, whatever, because this is the narrative. So when the narrative is Paul seeing, Paul's represented as a body. Yeah? You're pictured as a body. When the seeing is claimed to imply the seer, this is what's pictured or imaged, is I am the seer. Yes, I'm the hearer, I'm the feeler. So Huang Po comes up and says, hey, whatever can be perceived, right? I'm perceiving this, I'm perceiving this, right? Cannot be the perceiving. Aha! So he just, in one fell swoop, cut the whole trunk and root of the narrative. He said, the object which can be perceived can't be the subject which is perceiving. So your whole story, it didn't get to, chapter 550 and all the dramas and intricacies of it going on for so long. It goes right before there. It says it's not true. It doesn't matter how true it seemed, it's not true. So it's a negation. It's a negation of a presupposing, an assumptions, an inferring, a taken for granted. Yeah? No factual, there is no fact that the thing is seen. There isn't. And the eye is a thing, the eye is an object, it's not seen. It facilitates vision, yeah? But it's not seen. Without the spirit, without the onness, the eye wouldn't be seeing anything. Even if it was perfectly able to see, without the life animating this object, there would be no seeing. The eye would not facilitate vision, it wouldn't. You could probably transplant it into a live body and it would. Yeah? But if the basis of the body is dead or inert, in other words, it's a non-existent thing. You can see it, but there's no existence in it, yes? That eye isn't going to see. You can get every fucking pair of glasses you want. You can get fucking gradient ones, sunglasses, Ray-Bans, and it ain't seeing. So that which comes after, just in a huge assumption, presupposes it's before, but without the before, there's no hyperbole about what comes after. See, what comes after is totally dependent on what's before. What's before is not dependent on what comes after. You don't have to get it. You are it. You are that which you're trying to get, yeah? So you are that. So that which is before does not need assurances from the after. It doesn't. It doesn't need it certified by the after, validated by the after, gotten by the after. The before the after is totally unessential except for this, the dreaming. There it is, it has a role, which is finite, 80, 90 years, baby. You know what I mean? It gets to have the great gift of being called you for 80 years. It doesn't really do well with it, but it does maybe 78 years, first 2 years, Yeah? But then it will be like it never ever happened. So why not have a sense of that now? It's like a leavening agent. It'll just be there. So after all the ingredients are all concocted and moved and everything like that, it just goes in there and it evens shit out, or it turns into a traveling lighter, basically. That's how I see it, yeah? And then just like that, if you weren't getting a sense of relief from this, you'd probably be here every fucking week, or trying something new. Now people here that come every week, they enjoy the space, but as a seeker, you would keep seeking. The beautiful thing is, when you get to the root of it, you lose interest in all that seeking because you're satisfied and content. So the seeking had no noble cause. It was given a nobility, but if you just felt satisfied and content, you probably wouldn't be looking for, common ground or signing up for all these classes. You'd just be chilled out. And you'd know the tree by its fruits. Hey, I must have hit the, payday because I'm not looking for a payday anymore. That would be the greatest payday, yeah? I have no interest in improving. I don't think you can polish clarity, I don't. I just don't. I don't think we can make it more clear. I do not. I just think all of that is it's just based on an absurd assumption, still trying to garner some relevance, It's still, if it can't get it, it wants to have the ability to obscure it from you. So if it can't become the subtle spirit, it wants to block you off from the subtle. Either way, it has relevance, yeah? And I think we give a lot of relevance to it. We actually allow it to play God on us, yeah? Through ignorance or what, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I do know that which is playing God is not God. Yeah? The idea of God wouldn't need to play God. It is God. That which ain't God would have to play God. Yeah? So how the hell can something play God unless it has access to God juice? I think we're the God juice that it's accessing. So the host gets convinced by the parasite it's the parasite, and so the parasite sucks up the host's energy. Paints the picture it wants, So now you're blind, and then of course it creates so much irritability, restless, discontent. Then you want a solution, but like a drug addict wants a shot. And so if you go with that attitude to non-duality, it ain't going to give you anything. If you're looking to get a hit from this idea, you're at the wrong drug. Yeah, you might as well just get fucking high on something else. At least you won't get high on something else. This will frustrate the hell out of you. It will frustrate the whole premise of seeking. It will. That's what its point, that's its point. Its point is not another way of calling you to arms. It's a disarming. It's a negation of all those drives to use yourself, to find yourself. It's negating the premise. And when the premise collapses, all the auxiliary little fucking subdivisional, family businesses collapse. Yeah? All of it. I mean, all of it. They start collapsing. Hopefully all at once, but if not, they're gonna collapse. Yeah? And you'll see you're fine, inherently fine. And then you'll realize, Jesus, it was me trying to make myself finer, which was the fucked up thing, really. I was so busily using what I was looking for to look for itself, I was blind to it. Wow, who would have thunk, It's a rude awakening. But after you get laughed at for a while in there, you just realize, geez, what did I do? It's a program that hits a wall, it just bounces off and hits the wall. It can't correct. It can't correct itself, You have to see it from outside the system, and you are outside the system. So the requirement's already established. There's really no requirement necessary to be what you already are. There's no requirement necessary, you're it already, yeah? And if you want to add time to it, to feel like you've got to become more it, you're lost in time. Time is another blinding mechanism, yeah? If you sit around and you get hits of what's happening, they're always timeless. They have nothing fucking do with, it's going to be coming in a half hour. It's going to probably leave 20 minutes later. You grab as much as you can. No, it's fucking like an intervention, whacks you, and then there's nothing there to grab. Put a little, no, you can't grab, you can put a little. As soon as you show up, it seems to be, wow, what happened? And then after this happens maybe 180 times, you see you're rolling things. Wait a minute. That which I'm looking for, if I'm there to find it, it's lost again. What the hell? I can't fucking, how can I get it where I can stay there and have it? Yeah, I get it, but then I want to have it. The having it is in time, yeah. And for you to have it, you have to have the memory that you haven't had it, yeah, that you're not it. For you to end up being it, you have to really believe a long story that you're not it. That's the cost, yeah. That's unbearable, really, because you can get lost in the finding of it. Yeah? You'll never get lost in the being of it. Never, yeah. It will always be available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary. Just always, like a flower always opened, yeah? Whatever you want, however you want to picture it. As soon as you make a step, distance starts occurring, time starts occurring. You don't see that you're the dreaming. It's like I used to talk about the hallway and shit and fans, yeah? Well, you know, you and I are what triggers the hallway and shit and fans. Without us, the fans doesn't go on and the shit doesn't show up. You know? So you want to learn how to get through the hallway of shit and fans as quickly as you can, but you're the cause, you're the trigger of it, yeah? So what would happen if you didn't enter the hallway? There would be no need to sort of run the gauntlet of the hallway of shit and fans, yeah? And so, well, how do you do that? This can't stop going in the hallway. What happens is you see this go in the hallway, but you're not this. Yeah, that's the solution. It's not this gets smarter and never goes in the hallway. It doesn't need a hallway to be the fucking hallway of shit and fans. That's just what it is. So you see you're not that which is appearing to be in the hallway of shit and fans. That's what occurs. Whatever arises, you see you're not that. Yeah? That's all. And in the seeing you're not that, that's what you are. Because once you get a clarity or a realization, and then you start describing it in language, that you're being produced. Yeah? The sense of view is being produced. It's good to see it. You don't have to stop it, because that would be a you trying to stop the you. Yeah? You just see it. You just see it happening, and you've had enough samples to realize that's what it does, yeah? It's going to appear and assume to be you and describe what it was like not to be you for hours. Yeah? I have run into people all the time. They come up to me and they go, I disappeared for 8 weeks. I go, oh yeah? Who's there to tell me that, you know? If you actually disappeared for 8 weeks, you wouldn't know you disappeared for 8 weeks. Yeah, during the disappearance, something arose and claimed to be the one that had disappeared for 8 weeks. You missed that appearance. You got stuck in the story of being disappeared for 8 weeks, but there's an appearance that claims to be the one who disappeared for 8 weeks. You just get to see more of it, that's all. Just don't think it ends in one little. You know, it just keeps, you'll see, it'll just keep revealing itself. It's not you, not you, not you. Yeah. You don't have to say it after a while, you know, not you, you know, it's established, right? You don't have to, you know, water it or cultivate it or be vigilant. You don't. There's just a knowing, yeah? And the knowing, it doesn't matter how much you believe you're that, there's a knowing you're not, really. It's true. Yeah? Even if you went up that ass of self and you called all your divine proctologists to get yourself out of it, that still wasn't you. It wasn't. No matter if you completely believed it, that which completely believed it wasn't you. Yeah, you see? It will keep masquerading itself as you seeing this objectified you. It will. Just get used to it. Yeah? There's not going to be a time, or maybe there was, but you would have no interest in informing anyone if there is a time that there's no appearance whatsoever of it. But I wouldn't, again, that would be another condition set for its absence, and its absence is inherent. Its absence is inherent. It had no presence. You're the presence it's masquerading as. Yeah? He's taking a little bit of reflected light and it's making you up. So at these talks, we can tell you, I'll share with you how I see it, how what you're not gets reinforced, how what you're not gets maintained, how what you're not appears, yeah? Because I humbly believe there's no point in studying what you are from what you're not. And I'm telling you, the premise that we're living under starts at what we're not. It is the quickest process that's happening here. It beats any other process, so you're not going to outdo it by doing. You're not. You're not going to outthink it by thinking. You're not going to outfeel it by feeling. You're just not going to be able to pull it off. You have to go to where, see, it'll kill every other gunslinger, but it can't beat the gunslinger of no time. Because the gunslinger of no time, the gun's out at all times. It can't be, drawn. Yeah, it can't. So that's the reliance. That's where you rest. Yeah. And it always has gunfights, bouquet, corral, shoot-ups. This is the authentic you, seeing not authentic you, but it's all youing. It's all selfing. There's no fucking bona fide aspect of what you are other than the puppet show. Yes? You don't have to go through thousands of examples. You can learn from others. You can hear it. You've had enough. If you heard this invitation and then you see you've gotten about 4 or 5 free samples, matched with the invitation can leap into something. You don't have to go through 800 fucking free samples, yeah? The sample, boom, 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 you'll picture the product, yes? So see what you're not, understand what you're not, study what you're not, study self. That's what AA does, in a way. And a lot of people in AA don't think so, but really, we're looking at how the manifestations of self. And first of all, there isn't a self. That's giving it too much credit. It's selfing. Yeah? There is no self that was ever born, or there was no self that's ever done selfing. There's selfing that's been claimed to imply the self. So let's get it clear. There's selfing. There's only verbing called selfing that is being used to imply, to historically imply that there's a self. So the doer doesn't come from itself. The doer is attributed from claiming the doing. Yeah? So the doing, the seeing, the acting, the feeling, the tasting, the thinking are all happening, and they're being claimed or mined for this nugget of noun called self. Yeah? So the doing claimed to imply the doer, the feeler, the taster, and they're pictured as an image which is this body. And therefore, when you hear the vocal cords of this body, when the thoughts are given like a soundtrack, which it sounds like your voice, which is a voice that's just produced by these vocal cords. No one has your voice. This isn't Paul's voice. This is the voice, this is the sound that's claimed to imply there's a Paul. So when I'm listening to these vocal cords, there's more than the listening. There's an implying through the listening, yeah? Yeah? That this sound I'm hearing is my sound. It's me. And me is telling whatever I am what's happening to me. Yeah? Now, if I could see it as Stanley's, I'd fucking have an immunity to Stanley's narrative as long as I wasn't a Stanley. Yeah? But if I take it to be Paul, it has an incredible binding effect. Yeah? Why is that? Why would I have an immunity to your thoughts, but the same thoughts held here as mine would have a huge effect on me? When I see them as yours and you complain to me about it, I can feel a little compassion, but I'm really happy. There's the mouse again. Came for satsang. He can run back in. Yeah? So, yes? Your thought. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Yeah, no, thank God it's your thought. Thank God. But suddenly, the same thought, if it was held as my thought, it would have the ability to affect me. Where does it get that ability? It's not from the thought, is it? Is it from the thought? Why not get to the exact nature of wrongs, causes and conditions? Do thoughts disturb you, or are thoughts used to disturb you?
Thoughts are used by who?
Exactly, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, are thoughts disturbing you, or are thoughts used to disturb you? When something is used doesn't mean there's a who that's using. That's the bondage of self right there. You think, exactly, your logic is, if there's using, there must be a user. We do this every week. Stop falling for that. Yes? Oh, if there was a doing, there must have been a doer. Who's the one who did it? No, you haven't fallen for it. That's every week I talk about it. You just illustrated it perfectly. There's using, there must be a user. Who is it that's using it? There's just using. Yeah? There's just verbing, claiming verbing to imply a noun. So suddenly, life is happening, gets replaced by a narrative, life's happening to me. Yeah? If everything was verbing, could you see anything happening to you? It's the stagnant, it's the stability, it's the nounness that causes it to be a target, yes? If you saw everything from a verb, as soon as the noun was put in place, it would give meaning to everything. That's what it does. It's like, here's verbing, everything's a river. Then there's one that turns into the river, and now the river thinks the rivering's fucking with it. It now the Colorado River is being fucked by the rivering. Or is doing the fucking. Yeah, this is the whole point. You see it? You just examine. That's what you take home. Stop fucking reading so much. Stop doing all this stuff. Take that home. It's better than 800 pages of stuff. You just saw it. You just saw it. You heard something simply being demonstrated. Yeah. What's giving to the meaning to thoughts? Or what's using the thoughts? Or there's the using of the thoughts. Well, who's the user? Exactly. That is the bondage. That is the failed system. Do you see it? Anytime there's a verb recognized, you start looking for the noun.
But then there's nothing to do. Then there's nothing to do.
Yeah, and you'll do a lot of shit. And there's nothing to do. Exactly. Wouldn't that be a pleasure? Why is it that you have to convince what you're not that you're what you are? Fucking let it hang out loose. It's begging for don't throw a fucking preserver. You'll be a lot better off when it goes under. Don't worry, it'll be dragged along. It'll keep bubbling its story. And most of the attention, some of the attention will be on that. It'll be dead, being dragged. But the story, that's where all the attention will be. See it? Yeah? I mean, I've said it for years and years and years and years. This is the common mistake. Verbing happening, yes? Then whatever, there's a claiming of the verbing. then a noun is implied. But the noun comes, so here's the verbing, which is happening at this moment, yeah? There's a claiming of the verbing, which happens a little bit after this moment. And then the claiming implies a noun, which is now after, yes, the verbing, yeah? The verbing is square 0, and now noun is square 2, so to speak. But when the noun is implied, it's pre-implied, as Ramana says, a great master. He says there's a presupposing of the non-existent thing taking itself to be existing, yeah? There's the presupposing of the non-existent thing taking itself to be existing and wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. It would make sense if you were an existing thing with a lot of irritability, restlessness, and discontent. Maybe after you tried a lot of other goals, you'd shoot for the goal of salvation. That's what I'm looking for. It's not money, it's not sex. I've done all of that. It's salvation. So I'm going to look for salvation for the non-existent thing. Sounds like a very noble endeavor. Yeah? But it's a non-existent thing. So if you just switched it and said the salvation is really from the non-existent thing, and if there's no from a non-existent thing, the salvation is actually the present tense condition. What you're dreaming as a salvation for what you're not is the present tense state of what you are. Why, plant your freak flag there. The other one is fucking, you got mental winds blowing it all day. Here it's nice and calm, yeah? It's solid. You're on solid ground. And I'm telling you, observations as you go forward will keep reaffirming that. You'll know the tree by its fruits. You'll see blue is blue and red is red, and all those long-lasting goals of nobility, of arriving somewhere. Of course, it's you on a cliff with your hair blowing, surrendering with ex-girlfriends and hopefully future girlfriends, worshiping, what a man. No, it's not going to be like that. You're going to go to 7-Eleven and fucking be the fifth person online. No one's going to, oh, come, you're such a bright being, come ahead. No one's going to fucking, it's just going to be, it's just, it's ordinary. But it's so beautiful because the real shine doesn't need to be added on, yes? The shine, to what we're not, it's blind to that shine. Like an old master I used to have used to say, we're addicted to the boredom that looks exciting. Yeah. Instead of the excitement that looks boring. Right? He says all this excitement is fucking boring, basically. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. But it's the excitement of the boredom. Yeah. It's sort of like that in a weird way. Things get flipped around, and it's like once they're flipped around, they were never not this way. See, that's the trip. When you believed it was like this, like this, like this, like this, and then suddenly it's not like this, usually when that happens, it tells you it's always been like this. All that which you thought was so wasn't so. Really, that's what happens. I mean, no matter how long the rug is, it gets pulled out from underneath you like that. That's what occurs. When you finally feel, when the horse is finally before the cart, you realize it's always been that way. You were just assuming something else. That's all. The assumption had no traction other than your belief in it. Yeah. It had no long-lasting effects. It dissipates completely. Yeah. It just wasn't true. It isn't like it was true and then it turned into something else. No, it just never has been true. Nothing was lost or gained as what you are. Yeah, you're untouchable by this movement in time. There's no blemish. There's nothing that could leave a trace on what you are from this event. Yeah. It's all ways of trying to be relevant as what you're not. Yeah, and don't not try to be relevant, because that would be relevance. You just see you're not that. It's not about you never see it again. No, you see it a lot, but you see it, and there's an acceptance, and the acceptance is framed as I'm not that. Yeah. It doesn't call me to try to work on it. It doesn't. It just says I'm not that. That's basically it. So and I'll tell you, you're gonna outlast it, no doubt. Yeah. It's gonna blink first, and when it pauses, you don't. Yeah. When all the verbing of selfing stops, which it does quite a lot, you continue. The seeing doesn't stop with the selfing stopping. The seeing is before the selfing. Yeah. Why not at least find where your true starting point is? Don't you think it would explain everything? That you were looking at Monopoly from square 4 instead of square 0? That's one. All your takes on Monopoly were based on a false perception. You were seeing it from an imaginary position that caused you to see it in all the ways you saw it. So instead of trying to cut some of them, just go to the root, yeah? The misperception is a seed in all the perceiving when you're off. It is, yeah? So now you get a hit of square 0, and the game looks different, yeah? It does. And like to me, I've been trying to get out of here since I was 6 years old, really. I don't know why, I don't know, who cares really. But there was a drive to escape, either through reading when I was young, and then as soon as I could find alcohol, and alcohol was too slow, drugs, and then spirituality, and then back to drugs, and back to spirituality. There's not that many houses on the escape road, you know. And then I tried most of them. And then, you know, I fell upon these ideas, entertained them, and a lot of demonstrations occurred that this is not 2 levels below coconut. It can observe, and I observed changes that I had nothing fucking to do with. Nothing to do with it. There was no way I could write myself before the effect and premise myself as the cause. It was just so fucking obvious. So I got to see how things are. Yeah. And one of the things was acceptance for what I'm not, really. And when I finally was breathing the atmosphere of acceptance, the last time I remembered having any of that was from my grandmother, really, who took care of me when I was growing up. She was the last feeling I had of that, you know, and it was a long desert of many, many years. Because this was looking at like an urban renewal project. It was just always a demand, you know, gotta get better or whatever it was, or fuck it, I'm gonna get really bad or whatever. There was always a reaction to something that it just wasn't accepted. It wasn't, you know. And then finally it flooded with acceptance, and the only way it came was I'm not that. If I was this, I'd still be probably working on it. I would, yeah. Or trying to get out of it, yeah. Without the idea that my trying to get out of it as it. Yeah, that was a big rude awakening. When I realized when they said, hey, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha, you can't use mind to seek mind, you can't use light to seek light. I had a survey of my life in a split second, and that was basically the theme of my whole life since I've been 6 years old. I was using what I am to escape, yeah, what I'm not, as what I'm not. Yeah, I was using self to get out of self, with the hopes that self would be there. Yeah. So now I remember those statements from Hawaiian Po, and I truly believe if he was here tonight, he would see Paul and what's called Mike and what's called Scott and what's called Maria, but he wouldn't see them. He would see the Buddha, yeah? Because it wouldn't be appropriate to tell Scott to stop using the Buddha to seek the Buddha. It wouldn't be. But it's super appropriate to try to get the message, not to Scott, but through it, to the Buddha, Because Scott, as it's produced right now, is the obscuring agent. Yeah, it's obscuring the Buddha. Yeah, and especially when it's using the Buddha to look for the Buddha, it's actually quite successful in the obscuring of it. Yeah. So the message was and is to the Buddha, and so all right. So whoever he was talking to had the quality of Buddhahood. Yeah, also had the quality of mind, and also had the quality of light. Yeah. So he was saying you can't use light, mind, and Buddha because you are light, mind, and Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can use light, mind, and Buddha to seek anything other than light, mind, and Buddha. It would be successful, maybe. Yeah? You could use light, mind, and Buddha to seek anything other than light, mind, and Buddha, but you can't use it to seek itself. The whole premise of non-duality is you are what you're looking for. Therefore, you can't use looking for it to find it, because you are it. Yeah? Looking for a pair of pants, you can be successful. Looking for a latte or a restaurant open tonight, you may be successful because you're not the fucking restaurant or the pants or the coffee. But you can't apply that same modality to what you are. Now, it's all premised that you are what you're looking for. If you don't believe that, then non-duality isn't your calling. And so go fucking another way. If you're beating your head, on non-duality, move on. Why fucking do? That's not its point. Its point is, hey, if you're ready to hear it, you'll hear it. The hearing of it is, it's based on, it doesn't say what you are, but it's implied by saying what you're not, which is you're not too. So you are what you're looking for. It knows by trying to tell what you're not to look for what you are. It doesn't work, so it negates what you're not. That's the beauty of non-duality. Most shit is an affirmation of a goal, and then you set out trying to improve this so that by the time you reach the goal, you'll be worthy of the goal. You know what I mean? Purification, fucking whatever it's, yeah? You have to be worthy to be the holder or the chalice of the fucking nectar of the gods, yeah? That's all premised, that's premised that you're not, yeah? So obviously, this has to be worked on and maybe fucking bashed and fucking destroyed so I can attain reality. But non-duality is not saying that. Non-duality is saying you are reality. And by you being reality, seeking to attain reality is the greatest mystery of all fucking time, as Ramana Maharshi said. So he says, how could this be that reality is wishing to attain reality? It's reality. See, this is the point. Yeah? But you can't arrive there by saying you're reality, because what you're not will be hearing it. So you've got to describe what you're not. No need to describe what you are. You're it already. You'll find out. As soon as you stop trying to find out as what you're not, you'll find out what you are. You will. It's guaranteed. It is guaranteed. As soon as you stop trying to find out what you are as what you're not, you'll find out about what you are. You'll find out about serenity and peace and silence and all like that. You will. They'll just become obvious. Yeah, they'll be present and available. Yeah? Because how the mathematics was switched has been corrected. Yeah. The primary number of the mathematics we're talking about isn't 1, it's 0. Yeah? We're trying to negate the imaginary. Not trying to, there's just a negation of the imaginary 1. Yeah? And in that, you find out what you are by seeing what you're not. Yeah? And now, just in the way we directed it, he ran and then went back again. I think that, eh? You'll come back out. You feel safe enough in here. Yeah.
The mouse is the vehicle.
That's what you could say. The satsang has nothing fucking to do with the mouse. It's just part of a choreography. I wish there were signs. The signs are, the signs are, hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. Yeah, so I heard this stuff. I didn't hear it as succinctly as this. That's why I'm here. I heard it, and I entertained it. I did. Who knows why, but I did, and it found it. More was revealed, and then things. It's such a volatile place. You really have to. This has to get used to something reliable. It does. That's not demanding a lot of payments and fucking, demands. Yeah, it's you get to see like the catacomb of what you're not. Yeah, all of its considerations and all of its but. That's where the world of self starts. Is but. Oh, this is such a beautiful meaning, but when I go to work tomorrow, so but is, and you just start seeing what you're not, and then the engine goes off, the seeking engine at least. You seek for shit that can be found. I'm talking about the seeking that's failed to begin with. It shuts off. It doesn't go into idle, like very subtle fucking. No, it shuts off, and you get to hear the hum of silence, real silence, yeah? And you realize that the presence is that, and the presence is available, and if I am present and I'm available, I'm of service, yeah? I'm gonna be used here. I don't have to be, I'm gonna be used because you're available and you're present, and that's your inherent nature, yeah? It's not like, oh, I'm present. It says we're all fucking present. You can know that, or you can seem not to know it. It doesn't change the fact that you're present. You as presence, can seem to believe you're not present, really. It can, in other words, it can appear to the presence that it's not present. It wants to be present in the future, or it may have a memory when it was present, but it's in that mode of seeking what it already is, yes? Yeah? Yeah. So the presence is available. That's being of service. This finally gets used and not abused, really. I think like we say in AA, there's a beautiful statement. It says, you have a new employer. And so obviously that implies you used to have an old employer. And so what is an employee? It's something being employed or used, yes? That's what the employ means. To employ something is to use something, yeah? So you have a new employer, being all-powerful. So obviously the old employer wasn't all-powerful, though it assumed it was. But it didn't have any real juice, yeah? And it says, being all-powerful, it's going to take care of you. Did the old employer take care of you? Yeah, in a very fucking hostile manner. So I know I'm going to be taken care of, but rough way. Yeah, being all powerful, it's going to take care of you. Where the other thing would promise to take care of you, but couldn't, yeah, because it didn't have the juice. But now you have a new power. It's not the new power, it's always been there, but a new employer. Being all powerful, it's going to take care of you if you do two things. One of them is stay close to it, and you can't be far from everywhere, yeah? So that requirement's done. And then do its works well. And it doesn't matter, just do its works. The wellness will be from it, yeah, not you, yeah? So now, you and I are going to be employed. Now, I have been employed before with an addictive head, yeah? And I saw fucking how that went. And now I feel, seriously, for 30-something years in AA, I have been directed by a power greater than that old employer. Yeah? And, I've observed the fruits. Yes? Basically, I could have been blooming like an incredible rose bush from the beginning. But what I needed was a transplant from a dead soil, a small pot with no water and no light, into a one that has some good soil, some water, light, I have the ability to bloom. Yeah. That's what happens. So the action figure been corrected through AA, and that allows, it just allows a lot of possibilities. Because I find a lot of people here, the importance of this here is got some heaviness that this message doesn't gain traction. It gets overwhelmed by the daily life or whatever, yes? So some people seem to be outmatched, and so I remember when I used to see Ramesh Bao, a teacher in India. He used to, before the talk, he had lost interest in talking to the same people. So they were looking for new people, and the new people would be brought in, and they'd sit in a chair and ask him a question. Even if you didn't have one, he'd start talking to you. And the first thing he opened up all the talks was, hey, do you have a place to stay? Do you have any food? Because if you don't, it's stupid to talk about this shit. The prerogative would be food and a place to live. Yeah, you're not in the nice condition to listen to this message. You're in a survival mode. You know, you need food and things. So take care of that. If you're in a nice place, we'll proceed. I sort of like that idea, because I've noticed when people try to use non-duality, I was talking about earlier, like a drug, it doesn't work. It's like shooting water up. It doesn't do anything. It is nicer to have a certain attitude about it, where you're sort of chilled. You're open to see where it takes you, and yeah, you've been around the spiritual block. You've realized you're not going to get out of here alive. So, you know what I mean? You've lost interest in experiences. You have. You've had tons of experiences. Experiences don't add up to anything. They don't. You can't, there's not an experiential bank that suddenly turns into an IRA or something. It's just, they're just experiences, yeah? There's things to learn, but they're not going to amass into anything that's stable. So you've gone through a lot of disillusionment already. Not that you're indifferent, you're still maybe, hopefully in the zest of living, but you've realized, you know, maybe what I'm really looking for, I can't find it in this store. You know, it's like going to a library looking for a chainsaw, you know. I'm not going to find what I'm needing here. And so you're open to, hey, all right, you know, I practiced Buddhism for 20 years, whatever, yes, Course in Miracles, I've had unbelievable experiences, can't kill the fucking thing that doesn't exist. It just keeps showing up. So, all right, lay it on me. Let me hear this idea. So that's what happened, and it put an end to everything else, which is unbelievable. It's actually, in observation, it's the last answer for me, which is pretty damn good. Yeah, I have no need or no interest in any other answer in this topic after this for years and years and years. It's been solid. It just put an end to it, finally. Yeah. So you'll know the tree by its fruits. If you're parked there and you're at the point of entertaining these ideas, it's already a done deal. You know, you didn't run into this haphazardly. It's, you know, if you're hearing it, you have the ears to hear it. Yeah, let it. It's going to take hold. That's why I say you've been served the spiritual subpoena. You don't have to agree or not. You have been. I've seen it thousands of times. You've been served. You may want to unserve yourself, but it's too late. Yeah. And when you get through the little convolutions of Maria and get bored with it, they'll drop. They won't even need to drop off. You'll just see through them. Yeah? It's through. You won't even have to describe what you're not anymore. You just see through it. Yeah? Yeah. And maybe it will be the last answer for you. Literally, maybe it'll be, you know, the stopper of all that incessant drive, yeah, that you've seen as an illness. You have. You've seen, even though it was clothed in a noble garment, spirituality, you've seen the illness of it. You have. Most people have. Yeah, It's using spirituality just like it would use drugs. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, so. So let's have a resolution. Don't take yourself so seriously. How's that? Now, this is the rub. If you try not to take yourself so seriously, that's taking it seriously. Yes? When you see a verb, watch how the head has to put a noun. See it. Don't, not a few minutes after the fact. See it. Because those few minutes, the noun has been masquerading as you. You want to see it when it first comes out of the closet and hey, the emperor has no fucking clothes. You can't be saying it after the parade has begun and it's down. Just see it, yeah? See, just see. See, if you listen to your head just tomorrow now, it's assuming that you are conscious, that the body is that which is conscious. Yeah? Even if you think you're a spirit, it's framed as a body. So you may say, because when the language is spoken, the framing of it is you're a body. Let's just get clear about that. And the brain works with imagery. So the language, when it says you're the doer, what's pictured in its little theater is a body, you. Yeah, not you as a body that's called a you. And then the drops off, and then it's you. And then it goes to the next further coronation, and it's called me. Then you need a divine proctologist. Then you've gone way up. So, yeah. So here you go. Yeah. Catch it when it's coming out, please, for a couple of times, and then you'll see there'll be that leap, like the 100 monkey phenomena. You will see, maybe you see 5 yards, and then suddenly you'll see way, way far. Yeah, it's not incremental, like 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, 4 yard, 5. No. It hits leaps. Yeah. And then if you start chilling out, then you're on to something. You don't have to just observe. Yeah. So, all right, that's it, I think. Any questions today?
I want to say that I love the emperor has no clothes because that actually makes the emperor important as opposed to the clothes have no emperor.
That's good, exactly. That's what, it's always a clothing all day. Oh, let's call it emperor. But yeah, the clothing is the verbing. Yeah. And then verbing implies the noun is emperor. Am I following your head? Oh, good. You never know. You can get lost up there. I've been on some of those winding roads. So you all right, my friend?
I'm okay. Did this come to life for you a little bit when you studied the Course in Miracles and did the workbook, I am not that table, I am not that chair, the negation of it, is that when it started to come to life for you?
I don't know when, but I know when I did the second lesson of the Course, you and I give everything all the meaning it has. And so you're sitting in a room like this, and in a relaxed way, you look around, not forcing yourself to look at it, but just looking, and you go, and you look at what we call that chair. So you look at it, and you would say, you and I give it. But every time I've ever done that second step, when I look at the chair, I don't see the chair. I don't see it, and then I say, you give everything all the meaning it has, and then the chair comes up. It's not like the chair, and then I say that. I don't see the chair. I see the chair as a pure concept. It was trip, and never tried it to do that. It just happened every time. Yeah, so I'd be looking around, I just like, you and I giving everything the meaning it has, and I would just see whatever. There's nothing, and then you would say, all right, I'm giving everything all the meaning it has, and then door. But I didn't see the door, and then say, I just saw nothing, and then the door. So it comes in time, yeah? So obviously, things appear, so they basically come from no appearance. So you get a hit of the no appearance, and then you can see the functioning of time where the no appearance suddenly appears as a door. But it's a process, yeah. So you can get, the thing that you get a hit on is really when you get a little tweak, you don't need to record this, but if you want, it's fine. Time, the flavor of time is the main ingredient in this whole magic trick. Completely. Nothing that seems possible, that's truly impossible, could ever seem possible without time. It's the only way it gets. The absurdity of where it can go, it can only seemingly get there through time. Yeah. So you can grok time from timelessness. Yeah. It's not something called timelessness, it's just nothing. But you can grok time you can have a comparative state so you can recognize the moving state. You can. It's innate in you, yeah? So now you get a sense of time held in timelessness, not a sense in time as an object of time, but no, as timeless. So now you start recognizing it. And by recognizing it, you'll see its effects. Even if you're not seeing it make the effects, but you see its effects. Yeah? So you can see everything get brought back to time in dreaming. Without time, dreaming is time. Yeah? Yeah. So I would say this is an event of dreaming right now. We're dreaming. There's not a dream, and there's not a dreamer, there's dreaming. In the dreaming, there's the dreaming of a dream, and there's the dreaming of a dreamer, or the dreamt, but there isn't. It's just dreaming. Dreaming, no one dreaming, no one did it, it's just dreaming, yeah? Dreaming until it ain't. Yeah. So I don't know what happened with me. One of the things that does happen is you lose interest in what happened to you. You really do. I mean, if someone stopped, like the policeman, and I would have no story. I don't know what to say. People say, how are you feeling right now? I'm like, what? Fuck, I don't know. I haven't checked in a long time. I have no idea. I'm just winging it by now. I'm way out there. I can't reel it back in. How am I feeling? I don't know. Do you love me? I don't know. I don't know if I love you. I don't know if I don't love you. I don't know anything. I just show up, see what happens. I want to know. I don't have anything to tell you. That's what you lose interest in. You lose interest in that constant observing you. You're not really worthy of that much observation. You know what I mean? Actually, it's much better if it has more private time when the surveillance cameras are turned off. Because it's really not doing much anyway. You can save the electricity. I can tell you, like my girlfriend says, I could probably write you a script every day, Paul. Basically, you could. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And there you go. But to me, the boredom is very exciting. Seriously. And the exciting is boring in a lot of ways. I like some excitement, but the boredom is very exciting to me. I used to always be amazed at monks. They've never left the temple grounds because their minds are alive. So they walk in the same walk. You see them for years, but they're fucking. They're present and available. Yeah, they don't need to convince themselves they went on a hike. They just walk around, and they're walking around, and the mind is free range. I mean, that's what I'm curious around that. Yeah, very curious around that. I didn't want to have to be dependent, my condition to be dependent on other conditions. It seems like a bad deal because other conditions can change so much. I really wanted to find something reliable where you could stop and rest because it's reliable. Something that's not reliable doesn't beget rest and stopping. It doesn't. You may pause, it may be a little, but then you're, yeah? You know what I mean? But rest is something else. Rest is like fucking, you know, the race is over, the last answer, home, yeah? I mean, it could be old age too, I don't know. It could be. I think this, you know, the spiritual life is built into a life. Old age, all the fires go out a little, you don't give a shit. You look at things like, you know, like I say, I love looking at gazelles, but I don't want to ride any right now. You know? They're a little beautiful, but a little too much trouble. Maybe a lot of trouble to have a gazelle. So I'll just look at a gazelle. You gotta cut this off. Because I live with a gazelle. The best lives gazelle. Just joking. Joking to me. She knows anyway. But you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So.
We use for a basket.
Hmm?
We use for a basket.
What?
A basket.
Oh yeah, we have to pass. I'm gonna keep talking. It's good. You wanna get the basket? Yeah, yeah, stick around, man. Do you live here? I do, yeah, come back. Hmm?
So then, you know how the Indian teachers talk about a fan who is plugged in, when you unplug it, it kind of keeps going a little bit, and they define that as tarata karma, they say. So are all your relationships, is everything that happens to you right now in all your relationships just like that fan that keeps moving once it's been unplugged?
I don't know.
Well, if you're, then what's, like, everything that's happening.
This is where you should ask, who is it that's interested in that? Really? Huh?
I got it.
Yeah, who's, yeah, that's a bigger one. We'll pass both of them around. Just let's be thankful, eh? It's a nice crowd. Let's be thankful for all of us, each of us, yeah? We partake in a lovely event. This little room and the energy in it. It's spectacular and beautiful, yeah? And isn't it nice to hear something, you know, that maybe isn't presented as so readily available and possible? Yeah. I don't know, I just love this message. Yeah. Because it doesn't demand much from you. Really, it doesn't demand anything from you, really. And then you see where all your requirements are. That which you are has no requirements for you to fucking... It's not like it's going to set you on the 12 fucking tasks of Hercules. Those are all made up. It's like go to any length, maybe no length at all. It may not be a huge demand of sacrifice, and you know, I think it's.
I think I have a fear that I may end up doing nothing. I'm just doing nothing all day. I'm afraid of that, I think, a little bit.
Well, who's that? So, but you're not that which is afraid of it. Yeah, it doesn't say you're not afraid. Just don't. Just go back. Don't try to deal with what's being stated. Just ask, who is it? Yeah, because if it's you, that's why it means something. If you were describing me, it wouldn't mean much to you. So you just see it as, well, you know what I mean? You know, really, you catch that, which is, it doesn't mean anything to me. So what? Who cares? Ask, who is it? Who is that cares that it doesn't mean anything to them? If you're not that, then you're not beholden to that take. Yes? Yeah. Don't go this way, go that way if you want to call it away. Just take a step back, not a step forward, or don't try to run next to the narrative and trying to change it. No, just before. Yeah, just see you're not that. And then the narratives, without you aligned with them, they'll dissipate. They'll go off. They're like, you talk about the fan. It's like they just they do. It's your attention and interest that gives them life. Yes, of course.
The attention and
Yeah.
interest.
It is.
The attention and interest.
The attention and interest pushes something. It's like pushes something. Yeah. If there's what is that thing in physics? The velocity is based on the thrust, basically. Yeah. So let's say you've been farming a resentment for 50 years. There he goes again. Oh, he stopped this time. The resentment obviously didn't have 50 years of fuel. It's you. Yeah. And if you want to give the name of the booster rocket, it's my resentment. 50 years. It ruined my life. My grandmother looked at my sister before me, whatever, for 50 years. Yeah. Just if it was just a resentment, and we go, oh yeah, it would. Yeah. That's why I saw it. I saw it clear as day. And I have never not seen it clear as day. You and I give everything all the meaning it has. And the biggest meaning has been given to this. Yes. Yeah. And from this has sort of tainted or tinted a lot of other meaning. Yes? So let's get to this and see if it's you. If it isn't, then why would you be beholden to it? Yeah? If a resentment isn't yours, do you really need to fucking feed it and cultivate it and narrate it for 30 years and use it for excuses? You could just let it go. Yeah, there'll be others coming. You'll see someone cut you in the line or get something you wanted more, than whatever, they come up. But the action figure is not it's a bunch of contradictions. That's what it is. If you think this is going to get on the same page and be brilliantly fucking on, it can be convinced and unconvinced in 5 minutes. It has no staying power. It doesn't. It's a binary system that flips from one to the other. You're trying to go to war with this, or you have the rebels and the Union Army let's get them together. No, it doesn't work. Yeah. Lose interest in it all. And you can't just learn how you can't set out to lose interest. That would be interest. That which is playing God cannot quit playing God. That would be playing God. So then how the hell am I going to get out of that which is playing God? See it as what you're not. Yeah? So then suddenly God quits playing God as that. It keeps playing God, but it doesn't have the fucking production value as it used to. Because you've taken all the lights and the colors from it. So it's like it's just, you're fucked. It doesn't have like a $50 million budget, you know what I mean? It's like a cheap little, the show knows it's going to be canceled anyway, so they're not spending much. So they just throw the old wingers out. So I'm hoping that you'll fall for it one more time. Haven't you seen it? They just die. Oh, I feel really, fuck it, who cares? Who cares? Do I really want to take a stand here? Do I really want to stop and let everything circle around me? No. I'd rather just go with the flow, as they say. Yeah. So, hey, that's it. We'll be here next Saturday and Wednesday.
Paul, I'm just grateful for my journey in my life. Your message liberated me. It feels to me, all my searching and the different modalities, that your message for me was like the last key to open the door. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty recent that I came upon you, and I'm so humble and grateful for how you present your message and how simple and clear it was for me to understand it. And I am so grateful for that. You liberated me of something that was already dead, and it just fell right away. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Well, I didn't, but yes. No, I appreciate that. That's the whole point. One of many. First of all, it has to be said, but that's why we did the website and stuff. We're just trying to put it out there, and most people that are entertaining it, I never meet. You know, that's not the point. It's a pleasure to do it, but I just want to put it out there. Just like if you saw a good movie, you'd want to tell people. It's basically that urge, really. And then something came in and just has used me. Because I lost interest in this years ago. Just realized it wasn't going to get anything about 8, 9 years ago. It's just been dragged to the meetings ever since. Before I thought, I know it's nothing, but there's going to be something. No, it hasn't gotten anything, which is awesome. That's the whole point. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're around here, come join us. And if you can't do it tonight, we go out usually to eat. And on Saturdays, we go have coffee and hang out. So we have a lot of fellowship. And yeah. So we're going to end with a prayer from recovery, I guess. We got to cut out that